Okay, just a quick question. What we talked about, I guess, besides commissioners or people at City Hall and Alderman Dorf, anybody from the outside world, for lack of a better way to say it, Dave?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, with that, let's start our meeting then. Welcome everybody to the first virtual Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission meeting for Monday. You can connect virtually, so maybe this is a sign of the times here going forward. So, but anyhow, let's maybe do a roll call first. I'll just call off everybody's name so we have an official note everybody's who's at the meeting. Vice Chairman Daniel Thino.
Here. Here.
Alder Craig Stevens.
I'm here.
Lieutenant Brad Stroof.
Here.
Commissioner Bridget Reardon. Okay, no Bridget Reardon.
Oh, can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
Do I hear her voice?
Able to hear me? Is it my?
We can
Anybody
hear you,
else?
but faintly.
Faintly, okay, yeah, I hear a faint voice and it kind of sounds like Bridget, but I'm not 100% sure. So,
It's me.
Bridget, can you hear me? This is Commissioner Keepers.
Yes, I can absolutely hear you. I will work on my audio over here.
Okay, all right. So we're going to mark you here. Okay. Commissioner Ray Smith.
Here.
And Commissioner Stephanie Birmingham.
Here.
Okay, sounds like we got all the commissioners then, Dave, so we have a full quorum.
Yes.
Can
Okay,
you guys hear me better now?
yes, much better. Thank
Yep.
you, Bridget.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to approval of the agenda. Approval of the Monday, April 20th, 2020 Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission meeting agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move C and D.
Say that again, please, Dan?
This is Dan. I would move C and D, the agenda and the minutes.
Okay, all right, okay, gotcha. So I've heard a motion to approve items C and D. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, can you make out who the second was there then?
Bridget.
Bridget, okay, all right. Motion been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Motion carries. Go to item E, regular business. Under general business, report by the police department of the 2020 first quarter serious injury and fatality crashes. Brad, we'll hand it off to you there.
Thank you. I'll make this real brief. I'm pleased to report that for the first quarter of 2020, there were no fatal crashes or serious injury accidents that required any type of reconstruction investigation. We did have two crashes that resulted in the discovery of deceased drivers. However, they were both ruled by medical professionals to be a significant medical event suffered by the drivers prior to the crash. Therefore, they are not labeled as traffic fatalities in Brown County. So for this quarter, there would be 0.
Very good. That's the number we like to hear. So hopefully that will continue.
I agree.
Do I hear a motion to,
Motion to place on file.
okay, motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds like a motion that carries. Thank you. Move on to 2 initial requests. Consideration with possible action on request by Alderman Galvin to add Cass Street to the heavy truck route system from Bellevue Street to East Mason Street. Dave, you take over.
I'll defer this over to Brad. And Alder Galvin obviously is not on the line with us or at this meeting, so defer to police.
Okay.
Dave, is it all right? I have Jerry Young, Officer Jerry Young with me right now. He did the lion's share of work from the police department's perspective on this, working real closely with Alder Galvin. If appropriate, I'd like to have him speak on this.
Do we need to suspend the rules for that, Dave, or would he be?
I would consider him staff, so I don't
Okay.
think we need to change or suspend rules.
Okay, yeah, go ahead then, Brad, that's fine.
Okay, Jerry, go ahead.
So we have two businesses over on Bellevue Street that we had issues with from the neighbors with trucks parking or going off the truck routes. Bellevue is a truck route. East Mason is the truck route. So what happens is their GPSs and stuff have been telling them to take different routes, which end up not being on the truck route. The one business is right on the corner of East Mason and Bellevue. It's Dan Gobin Auto. So there's a lot of vehicles, semis that come in and unload cars and they don't have a proper place to do it. They try to do on Bellevue, they're right in the middle of the traffic. What happened, they pull off the side streets to unload to get out of the main thoroughway. And then at Cranky Pat's, we have delivery trucks that come up through the side streets based off their GPS to get turned around so they're on the proper side of the road, which would be facing, let me think here, northbound. So they go through the streets to get northbound in front of the business. So the reason we were thinking at Cass Street is making that a truck route that would give the vehicles that go to Cranky Pat's, they could pull up onto Cass Street and do their unloading. They can continue down. It's about 2 blocks long. They could get onto East Mason Street. The same thing with the Dan Gobin's. The trucks could turn onto Cass Street. They could unload their vehicles there, take them over to the store. They could continue down Cass Street towards East Mason. Now, Cass Street only has 3 residents on it, and the rest of it is businesses, which always have truck traffic on it in the first place. So they have the right to be off a truck road. So we just thought making Cass Street a truck road, a 2-block stretch, would give us the opportunity to have Dan Gobin and him have those trucks go over on the Cass Street. And hopefully that would help us avoid any more complaints down off from John and Luis and I think those are our 2 main ones are John. What the trucks are doing is they're coming off East Mason, turning onto John Street, coming up Louise to get in front of Cranky Pass. So that's why we're hoping to make Cass Street a truck route that gives all the trucks to those other 2 businesses a place to go unload their product and continue down the road and get right onto East Mason.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of this request. It sounds very logical that this is something that we should do.
Dave, do you have any information from Alder Gelman possibly that we should consider? Or?
Yeah, there's been some discussion, and I did hear back from the Alder relative to this item. There were some questions that I had via email that he responded to as well. And so I guess the primary question that I really had for both police and for the Alder is about Dan Gobin, because at least that's where I thought this started, the issue. And Dan Gobin has a couple of dealerships. They've got one near Baird Street and one at Bellevue, and these are both along East Mason Street. So these deliveries take place. And our parking division, I know, has been involved over some of these, probably the last year and a half. And, we had made contact with them. I know police has made contact with them. And from my understanding, the problem was resolved, and they are able to load on Bellevue Street southbound and then south out of the city if need be. When I asked the Alder relative to is Dan Gobin's truck problem still a problem, the answer was no. That since this has been discussed, so it's my presumption that has been solved. So that said, we had some further discussions about, and when I say we, this would be Jerry and I, about some of the other destinations on Cass Street. So as he had mentioned, there are 3 residences, and then the rest of them are pretty much, it's all commercial. you may have some rentals down there, but you have some bars, you've got an auto repair place, you name it. It's kind of a mixed use of 3 blocks. And so staff has actually, or Public Works, I should say, really has somewhat of a different opinion on whether or not Cass Street should be in. We've got a multitude of reasons, and I'm just going to try to quickly summarize them. Number one, heavy truck routes in general, if you look at how they were actually selected in this city, really are to provide some sort of connectivity. They basically are arterial streets, and most of them are multi-lane. Not all of them, but a majority of them are. And they're, number two, truck route destination streets, they're not necessarily required to be on heavy routes. I'll give 2 perfect examples of that. I-43 Business Center, that's all business. There's not even a single resident in there. However, the business park, none of the streets, with the exception of Ontario, which involved, are not on the heavy truck route system. Another one is downtown. Downtown has 4 truck routes. That's it. Yet pretty much every down here in this core has truck traffic. The third item would be the East Mason Street S-curve, as I call it. Adding Cass Street, the 2 ends, the west end is Bellevue, the east end it comes in by where Tim Sands Restaurant is, and it comes in on the outside of a curve, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that helps with sight lines probably a little bit, but you have an S-curve, which basically kind of hides any traffic coming eastbound as a motorist is looking to the left or to the west. So if you've got a full set combination and you want to, say, go northbound to westbound, that movement, the acceleration rates of trucks are slow. And if someone's speeding coming, say, from the signal at Bellevue, it potentially could be a safety issue. I'm not saying it would be all the time, but it doesn't seem like a safe place to be saying or truck traffic to go. Fourth point that I have is about recon the history of the pavement of Cass Street, and our streets have there's a way of rehabbing them. So they typically will be reconstructed or new construction. They'll usually have about 2 overlays, and then they will be reconstructed. Well, it's already had its second overlay. Second overlay occurred in 2008. It's a 3-inch asphaltic surface. Now, usually within a year or 2 years, the pavement ratings, we have a passer rating system. So when a roadway is brand new, it's rated a 10. And a lot of our overlays actually will go down to about a 7. And this one being a 2008, that was, I think I pulled it up as a 6. So we've had 12 years and it's still at a 6, which actually is pretty good. Now, the next step is going to be reconstruction. And when we reconstruct that roadway, it's not going to be a 3-inch surface on 12 inches, because that would be a typical what we would do. But if we would reconstruct it as a truck route, at minimum, it would get reconstructed as a 4-inch asphaltic concrete pavement over 12 inches of gravel, or it may even be concrete. So on the short end or the small end, if this was added, and then when we reconstruct it, that at today's dollars, 1 inch additional in asphalt for the length of that roadway is going to be about an additional $23,000. And with the way the wheel tax is set up, the city now absorbs that cost. So this 1 inch of asphalt, basically, the city would have to come up with the $23,000. My last point is going to be Cass Street, called the Cranky Pat issue. What's happening with Cranky Pats is the trucks are typically coming in, the ones that are violating, I think, the most, well, actually all of them could be. They're coming from Mason Street. They'll go southbound on John Street, and then they'll turn left they have to turn left onto Louise Street at the elbows there to head east up to Bellevue Street. They take another left to go north, and then they just go to the parking lane, park curbside, and make their deliveries. So Cass Street, I don't know how that would really help solve the Cranky Paths issue. And from what I understand, that still happens. So what I did is I went out into the field to find out if there were any no truck signs on John Street at Mason Street. So I did not find any. So at minimum, what I would recommend for this request would be the installation of no truck signs on John Street at East Mason.
Dave, we have a couple comments from the police side, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, so number one, on Cass Street, every day there's trucks going down that road. So to me, that's neither here or there, because there's always trucks going down there to make deliveries. So we always have heavy trucks on that road daily. So that kind of puts that to the side. Number two, when it does come out where Cass comes out onto East Mason Street, that isn't a blind intersection, because I've gone and looked at it numerous times. Go through there, the beer delivery trucks, the food trucks that do go there, the other places, come to Cass Street and go on to East Mason. We have never had any crashes there from trucks pulling on it or off of it while making deliveries. So to me, that's really here nor there, because there's constantly trucks on that route. And as far as the Cranky Pats and stuff, they're still pulling off onto the side of the road, which isn't really as safe. To me, Bellevue is a busy street. If anybody knows how Bellevue is, it would get the trucks to be able to go on to Cass Street, because the parking lot for Cranky Pats is actually faces Cass Street there. So that would be safer for them to get out. The same with the Dan Gobin vehicles. Yes, they can unload right there on the side of Bellevue Street for southbound, but it's a very unsafe location. If anybody wants to go through there during main traffic time, it's just not a very safe place for that to happen. We haven't had anything bad go around there yet, but I don't know how many close calls may or may have not have been. So.
Yeah, if I could respond to a couple of those. One thing you had mentioned was about Cranky Pats and Bellevue Street perhaps maybe not being an ideal place to load and unload. I just checked our street inventory, and it's a 44-foot clear roadway. 44 is actually plenty wide. That's really like having 12-foot lanes in each direction and two 14-foot parking lanes. And most parking lanes are going to be 8 to 10 feet. So the width is certainly there. I don't see that as being a concern of mine. The other thing you had mentioned right away was about trucks every day on that segment of Cass Street. True, but I'll go back to probably one of my first points, which was I-43 Business Center. Again, trucks every day on those streets. Downtown, we have trucks every day just as well, probably more traffic. So I'm not necessarily certain I agree with that perspective. I mean, I agree that they're there, but I'm just, we're talking a shift of taking something not on a truck route and adding it to it. And like I said, our bottom line is it's going to create in the future a larger cross section or typical cross section for us to build, and it's going to be at cost absorbed by the city.
Let me ask this question, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I use that roadway quite often if I'm going to be going down south from my neighborhood on Bellevue. I take Cass Street as a shortcut. That there's trucks going in and out of there all the time. I see them there all the time. I have this question. If we have trucks constantly using it, but it's not a truck route, is the police department enforcing no trucks on that particular roadway?
Well, the answer to that is really no, because at this point, they aren't supposed to be using that John Louise corridor, which brings me to a point there, or a question I had, or a point I was going to make, And David mentioned putting signage up, no trucks or not a truck route, that's fine, but now we're really limiting these delivery people who are really relying a lot of times on GPS. They're not as familiar with those areas as, we are at the police department. So, has there ever been enforcement? Sure. Most of the time when it's come to our attention, it's because of complaints, which is really what brought us to where we're at today, with looking to discuss and try to find the most reasonable way to give these businesses a chance to get their deliveries without creating issues in the neighborhoods, the Louise, John neighborhoods, or putting them in kind of a hairy situation. Bellevue Street is wide. The speeds there are decent, and there's I guess we could sit here and debate those points all night, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to look at it from a perspective of where are we going to provide, what options are we going to provide, since they're already routinely, daily using Cass Street, it does seem to me at least to make sense. So at least consider making that a legitimate truck route. And, I don't like the additional costs associated with the rebuild either, but in a big picture, it might be worth it.
If I could add one thing to that, your question was about enforcement. I'm going to more or less address the law in this case. The law in this case is that there's no violation taking place. Any one of those businesses that are taking deliveries, the truck drivers that are making these trips are not violating the law by dropping it off and getting back over to Mason Street or Bellevue. Now, someone could argue, let's just say that there is a drop off on, let's say, a business really close to Bellevue Street. They got to come off of Bellevue Street, turn onto Cass Street and face east. And then the interpretation could be, well, they're supposed to take the shortest path back to which would be right behind them, Bellevue. I would argue no, because it actually says shortest, most practicable route. It's not practical for a semi-truck to try making a U-turn, but rather go ahead 2 blocks up to Mason Street and get on that truck route. So any trucks that are on there that are actually making deliveries, that's not an illegal activity.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Do we know, how many businesses are affected by this? You said Dan Goldman and Cranky Pass. Are there any other ones that are affected by this, or is it just 2 businesses? And the second part of my question is, do we know the trucks? I've heard there's trucks going up and down it all day. Do we know the trucks are delivering to those 2 businesses, or maybe other business, or is there some shortcut where they're trying to get from one part of the city to the other part that they're taking, going where they shouldn't go? Have we been able to ascertain that?
I would guess that, I would guess Cranky Pat's gets probably 1 delivery a week or 2 maximum, I would think. Goldman, I can't tell you how often he gets car deliveries, but I'm guessing it's not too much. So I don't think we're actually going to be throwing a lot more onto Cass Street. But the day that I was sat out there, because Dave, like I said, Dave and I and Galvin, we worked on this a bunch. So the day that Dave sent me, like a week or so ago, sent me an email and asking me questions on that. And I was actually sitting on Cass Street, and I had a beer truck and a soda truck come through there, and they both stopped at businesses and made deliveries. So that's all I can tell you as far as, I don't believe they're using that as a cut across. I'm just taking it that they're going to the bumpers and they're going to the 2 mechanic shops there for the different other vehicles to make their deliveries.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who's using it.
I don't think you're going to see really a swing of trucks on that. I mean, a couple extra deliveries. I'm just looking at a safer place for them to be able to pull off, get off the roadway, and then continue on after they make their delivery.
So Dave, your perspective is more of a cost to the city down the road, that to improve that road is going to cost money. Is that more the engineering aspect that you're coming at it from?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Matt. Can you?
Yeah, well, one of the things I'm hearing from you, I thought was, the additional weight on the trucks is gonna make the street, I mean, it costs so much to repair the street at some point down the road. So
Right.
is your perspective that you're concerned with the cost that it's gonna be to the city down the road is that your number one thing or what?
Right. Well, let me just put out the two scenarios for you. The first scenario is we do not add it to the truck route. So the next time this gets reconstructed, it's going to go in as 3 inches of asphalt on 12 inches of gravel. Now, if it was approved and it gets added, it's either going to be 4 inches of asphalt or an extra inch of it, or $23,000 additional on the same amount of gravel, 12 inches, or it potentially could become a concrete street, which is going to be significantly more money. So that being said, like I said, the fiscal concern is probably my primary concern at this point in time. And let's just put it this way, and I think that Jerry even confirmed this, is that if we add it, that we're not really attracting any additional traffic. It's not being used as a cut through or anything like that. All we're doing is saying, let's put in a bigger road and we still have the same amount of traffic, which I was getting to my point. Well, I already said my point earlier about that the roadway is already, it's not getting that damaged. You know, a Pacer rating of 6 over 12 years is actually really good. So the amount of truck traffic that's on it, what we're saying is that the 3 inches on 12 is actually working. So the only thing I see that really comes out of this is that we're going to get a beefier pavement structure that we don't even need, that's going to cost the city money. And the only benefit that we're going to get here is it allows one business to be able to do loading on Cass Street. That's it. That's all I really see. And I just don't see that as being worth $23,000 to the city.
So this is
Dave,
Stephanie's.
what about
Go ahead, Dan.
What about Dan Gobin? Is where do they unload now if we restrict the truck traffic in the residential areas? They would have to go on Bellevue, wouldn't they?
They would have to come northbound. You know, they would tell their delivery driver to come northbound on Bellevue, say from like the 172 area, and come up Bellevue. We've actually seen them park the wrong way, I guess you'd say, that so they'd be facing northbound on the west side of the street, or they can come in from East Mason Street, go southbound, and then park south and do the curbside loading. And again, I mean, we're looking at Cranky Pat's as a loading, 44 clear roadway width, and you got Dan Gobin, who's not going to go away. Dan's not going to unload on Cass Street, yet he is closer to a signalized intersection of the same width. We're not solving that issue. I wouldn't even call it an issue because problem with them being they would actually unload in the neighborhood streets. Charles Street, I believe, is what it is. It's the first street to the south. But it's my understanding that that problem went away after there was the owner. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Was there somebody else was trying to maybe talk at the same time as Dan? Somebody else have something they wanted to add?
Yeah, this is Stephanie. I just was going to ask. So is the primary concern, Dave, that if it gets the special designation as a truck route, then that triggers a greater kind of quantity or different kind of concrete when it comes to repair time, versus if it doesn't have the truck route designation, then there's not kind of the added cost when it comes to needing to repair the road.
That's my primary concern, yes. And then the other one was the S curve, and I know Jerry's not as concerned about that. And it's not like it doesn't have the proper sight distance. It does have the proper sight distance, and I don't disagree with that. The only issue I could see is that it potentially could add liability to the city by saying, look, now that it's an official truck route, this is an okay movement to make, and then if a crash does happen. And again, I'm not aware of any anecdotally of these truck crashes. I didn't research the crash history of Mason and Cass, but if it happens, it's almost like the city said, well, it's okay to go ahead and turn here. the only thing I could see is putting a no left turn restriction, but that kind of seems to be a little bit on the overkill side. By not encouraging it or by not saying it's on the truck route, all you're saying is it's the shortest route, and someone just ended up taking that route. And if they got in a crash, it's like, well, you were off the truck route, you went there, and you got into a crash, and said he's really not liable because it's not a truck route.
Can you limit the time at which a truck can or cannot be on a particular part of a route, or is it kind of an all or nothing in terms of a truck route?
There are no time limits on it.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing, we already have trucks on the street already. Oh, Alderman Dorff, are you raising your hand?
I am raising my hand.
Go for it.
All right. I just am curious if Alder Galvin, in speaking with you, had a clear opinion on how he wanted to see this go. Dave.
I guess I'm really unclear. I mean, it was his request. So I'm obviously, I don't think that he's changed his opinion on it. It's just I've really gotten more clarification on whether or not the initial issue has gone away. And to me, it seems like it does. I mean, I can pull up his email and see if I can pull anything out of it. Where he says here.
Comes and goes, the issue.
Yeah, no, this is a different email. I'd have to look and see if I could. I mean, honestly, I haven't talked with him about this after I'd done a lot of thought. I mean, he's been involved in the emails. He knows that I had my concern about the S-curve. That's not a mystery. I mean, he should know about that. That was always in the emails. He probably doesn't know my opinion on the additional reconstruction costs. That's something that I looked into last week. Just curious to see if, from our engineering staff, just to find out if we are going to treat it differently in the future. And that's what the answer was.
Dave, if it's such an issue with the whole truck route thing, I mean, can we give like special privilege to Goben to have his trucks unload there, and for Cranky Pats, and we allow them to let their vehicles, I mean, if you're so set against this, I mean, just to give them permission to let their stuff there, so we make that, the road a little safer from the unloading and loading?
I would be willing to entertain a discussion with both parties to talk about it, because I'm not necessarily sold on just saying, hey, go ahead and do this, when indeed I don't know all of the logistics of their business. I don't know where they get deliveries. That was kind of the point of that last email that I was having about where these trucks are actually coming from. When I don't know that, it's very hard to tell if it's regional or local traffic, and that does make a difference. I would be entertained to have a discussion with them to try to resolve this. And if they were making those deliveries, I look at that as, you're only seeing a very, very small amount of truck traffic being added to that street, and it probably would not change how fast that street is wearing. So from an engineering perspective, anecdotally, I'm saying this very preliminarily, I probably wouldn't have as much concern about the loadings on the street if we allowed them to do that. I would rather try to have it resolved to see if there's other ways to go around it. But if push come to shove and that was an option, I'd be willing to have it.
So Dave, you entertained a meeting with the two businesses that have been brought up here tonight to gather more fact or information from them? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would be willing to have that discussion if asked.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm going to withdraw my original motion and move that we put this on the agenda for the next month's meeting.
And maybe get some input from the business and maybe Alderman Galvin?
Yes.
You want to make a motion to that then, Dan?
Yes.
Second.
Are you taking what I said as your motion then, or you want to make a motion?
That was my motion, to put it on the agenda for next month. to give Dave an opportunity to talk to the parties and get some more input from the alder of the area.
Okay. Do you need more input from PD yet, Dave? Or you sounds like you're working with them, Brad, and is Jerry
Yeah,
already
no.
there, so.
If I have questions on this, I certainly will keep them in the loop. And
Okay.
you know, I think it's important actually for the police all to be in the loop on all this. But yeah, no. So do I hear you? So Dan, you withdrew the motion, and then you created a new motion to hold 1 month for traffic engineer to talk to 2 businesses and for Alderman Galvin to get up to speed?
Correct. Yes, that would be my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second to Dan's motion then?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's move on then. Initial request, consideration of possible action on the request by the traffic engineer to change the permit parking zone to a 2-hour 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday parking zone on the west side of South Washington Street between Crook Street and Stewart Street.
Yes, this has to do with the withdrawal of Johnson Bank. This has to do with Johnson Bank. They are withdrawing their on-street permit parking agreement that they had with the city. They had a total of 16 stalls that they have leased from the city, and they no longer need that, and that basically that agreement is terminated between our parking division and that business. So that said, something needs to go in its place, and so we just simply looked at what were the surrounding other parking zones around there, and the 2-hour zone is what is pretty standard. We're not, close enough to the downtown to require meters in this location, so a 2-hour 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday zone is what we're asking for. So overall, what we want to do is remove the permit parking, the west side from a point 140 feet south of Stewart Street to a point 375 feet south of Stewart Street. And also we're going to be removing on Washington Street west side the 2-hour zone Stewart from point 140 feet south of Stewart, and then west side again, point 375 feet south of Stewart to Crooks, and then basically starting over and going west side all the way from Stewart to Crooks, 2 hours. So I know it sounds kind of confusing. That's just those are the exact numbers. I just wanted to say it for the record if you so choose to support this request. And I would make that recommendation to go in a 90-day trial.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Anybody want a motion, Dave's suggestion?
Motion for what Dave stated.
Second.
Motion been second.
Second. Bridget.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is everybody having kind of audio issues?
It says internet connection unstable on my end.
Mine as well.
Yeah, I had glitched. There was a motion made and seconded, I believe. So I'm going to say motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. I got it. Thank you. Let's move on to 4, consideration of possible action request by the traffic engineer to modify the existing no parking here to corner zone on the east side of South Maple Avenue, just south of School Place.
Yes, this request was made by our utility manager from our sewer section in order to provide staff, maintenance staff, that is, have access to the storm lift station that exists at that corner. So, chain maintenance again and emergency response. That lift station's in the southeast corner of that intersection. So in essence, what this allows them to do is drive up next to it, and they could have a couple of vehicles there. They've actually come to me on this request because they've have been there before where they've needed to have access for maintenance and during response or emergency response times, and just not have enough room to park all their vehicles. So they didn't see that as being safe, which is why they came to me. So on a 90-day trial, I am recommending to remove the no parking zone on the east side of Maple from a point 30 feet south of School Place to a point 20 feet north of School Place. So there's also another no parking here at the corner north of the intersection, and then replace that with a no parking zone. Instead of being 30 feet south of the intersection, it'd be 100 feet south of the intersection, and then reestablished in that northern part at 20 feet north of the intersection.
All right, you kind of broke up several times during your dissertation there, Dave, but I think did everybody get the gist of what Dave was asking with that request?
Yes.
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 Okay, all right.
I would move approval.
Go ahead, Dan.
I would move approval.
Okay, I think I heard Dan say he's making a motion to approve. Is that correct, Dan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's move on to 5. Request by Fox Harbor Pub and Grill to remove the 30-minute loading zone on the west side of South Washington Street, just south of Admiral Flatley Court, and replace it with a 2-hour zone.
Yes, this has come in from Fox Harbor staff. They had stated that some of their clientele or patrons are a little confused on why and really why that loading zone exists. There's a 30-minute loading zone that's quite long that extends in front of that Breakthrough Fuels building, and they would like it changed to a 2-hour zone, which is really not any different than what we had just talked about in the item 2 row, item E3. These are very close, I think within about a block of each other. So they want to have that 30-minute zone and just have that removed and add the 2-hour to it. So I wanted to do a little digging into this too, because this came from them, and I just wanted to find out a little bit, perhaps maybe, because I know Breakthrough Fuel, and I'm not really sure what's all happening with the shipyard and all that, but it was my understanding they were moving there, and unless something else is brewing, I'm going to go under that presumption that they are moving out or have moved out, and that maybe there's a potential client for that. So I contacted our Community Economic Development Director, Kevin Bonk, to find out what his thoughts were on that. If a new business would go in that building, and would they potentially need to have that 30-minute loading zone? And he said it seems fine to get rid of that. So we really don't see any need to have the 30-minute loading zone. It was probably there for when either the chamber was there. That's what I recall, the chamber being there when that was being used. So that being said, I would support the request, and then on a 90-day trial to remove it, and then to establish a 2-hour parking 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday zone. And the limits of that would be 25 feet south of Admiral Flatley Court to a point 260 feet north of Adams Street. Actually, and there's a second part to that, establishing a no parking anytime restriction on the west side of South Washington Street from Admiral Flatley Court to a point 25 feet south. What we're doing there is just actually creating basically for intersection sight distance too. So a very short no parking here to corner, so that people that are pulling out of that street of Admiral Flatley Court, so that they can look to the south or to the right and get proper sight distance. If we didn't have that, people could probably park a little closer to the intersection to make that a problem. So we're just asking for that small little zone there. So you got 25-foot no parking here to corner, and then after that it would be all 2 hours. So that's what we're asking, or that's what we would recommend on a 90-day trial.
Okay, like the last one, David, we didn't get everything that you were saying, but I think we understand, remove the 30-minute loading, put 2-hour parking, correct, is what you're asking for?
Yes, with the addition of a very short no parking here to corner, that would go in. It's only a 25-foot no parking here to corner, and that's to preserve intersection sight distance.
Okay. Does anybody make a motion to approve Dave's recommendation then?
I'll make a motion to approve that recommendation.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Was that a second?
Second, Dan.
Okay, second by Dan. Okay, all right. Okay, motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I heard one aye. Can everybody just say aye again or yay?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep. Okay,
Aye.
all right. Okay, motion been made and approved then. Let's move on to 6. Refer back from study, consideration of possible action on request for Alderman Weary on behalf of Uber drivers. A customer pickup and parking policy on Washington Street.
You want me to go with this, I presume?
We're on to 6, Dave? Is that,
Yeah. I was just wondering if you want me to lead.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as many of you recall, that this was an item that was in front of the Traffic Bike and Ped Commission in 2019. The issue was that a lot of the rideshare drivers would be on South Washington Street. They would be in the no stopping or standing zone. This is a zone that's been in for many years and has provided the police department with a lot of benefits to really cleaning up that block because there was some issues that they were having on there, and it was their request of which we supported, and we continue to do so. So these drivers would just pull up, and in essence, they were just, they'd sit there, and then I guess that, as soon as they would see a cop or were warned, then they would kind of get out of the area, sometimes hover, maybe go around the block, and if no one was looking, then they'd go back there. So it was kind of defeating the whole purpose of it. So bottom line is that there really was, sorry, a little distraction here. Anyway, bottom line is that we wanted to work with that community and find out if there would be a police. So obviously in that block, the reason that the no stopping or standing is in place. The first suggestion that I heard was across the street or the west side. There is some angled parking in that area. There's really not any bars unless you go like towards the corner of Walnut Street, and that's you have one in the Bellin building, but that's about it. I didn't really support that for the simple fact of it really creates an issue of mid-block crossings. You compound that with people that have been partaking in drinking alcoholic beverages and could be potentially on the intoxicated side. I didn't really think that was a good idea to encourage a mid-block crossing by intoxicated people. So that fell off of my consideration plate, at least. The one area that I thought was somewhat attractive was on Doty Street, just east of Washington. Now that north side, there are 6 meters. So those meters actually go out of use, or they become non-operational after 6 p.m. for nights and weekends. So pretty much anyone can park there. So, and that's what we had been seeing, that during the time when these Uber drivers are coming through, people would just use those as parking spots and go to the bars. So we saw that this could possibly be an opportunity for Uber drivers to use this area to stage or to pick up some of their clients, and it gets rid of the issue or the concern that I had with mid-block crossings across South Washington Street. Everyone stays on the east side of Washington. It's all they got to do is leave the establishment that they've been at. They head left or go south until they get to the corner, and then that's right where the loading zone would start, in those 3 meter spots that they would see there. They don't have to cross Doty Street or anything. So the pedestrian is not even leaving any street. They stay on the sidewalk. They're able to do a curbside loading with the ride sharing company. It's all done safely. I contacted our parking division to see if they had an opinion on that, and seeing how the meters are not in operation, they're not collecting any revenue at that time, so they really didn't have an opinion on it. It's really, they're free spots, so however we wanted to or needed to regulate it, they would support. So that being said, I did involve these discussions. They were highly in favor of this recommendation, and as a matter of were supportive to the point of that they, if this were approved, would go out and have some outreach with the establishment owners, the bouncers, etc., possibly even out to social media to get the word out that that area was now the official ride sharing loading zone. So I think we have a lot of support behind this. Not only we have multiple departments that are in support of it, but I think the Uber community or the ride sharing, I think they'd be pretty much happy with anything, because the little feedback that I did get back from them, they were very positive that the city actually had a recommendation, but I didn't really hear anything more than that, other than an acknowledgement that they know that this was moving forward. And the alderman that brought this forward, Alderman Weary, gave me some emails as well confirming that he thought that this was a good idea to move forward with it. So that being said, I'm hoping to get approval from the commission that on a 90-day trial that we establish no parking, rideshare, and taxi loading only nightly, Friday through Sunday, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. zone on the north side of Doty from Washington Street to 0.95 feet east of Washington Street.
I'd make that motion.
I will second that motion.
I didn't hear the first. Was there a first from somebody? Does everybody understand what Dave was saying? Because you were kind of broken up going through it, Dave. So does everybody get what Dave was?
Yeah, it's fine for me. I think, Matt, it might be your internet. I'm not having any issues.
No, maybe it's me then. Okay.
Yep, but I would make that motion.
Okay. So did you make the first motion, Bridget, then?
Yeah, I did.
Was there a second?
Alder Stevens.
Okay, all right. Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion carries. Informational, next meeting, Monday, May 18th. We shall see where things are at in May to determine how we go forward. I don't know if we'll have a different world we will be living in at that point, but I think overall worked pretty good. I guess just a question, so can people hear me okay? It's maybe just my internet work, because Dave was breaking up quite a bit in between sentences there. So did anybody else experience that, or was that just me?
It was fine.
You were.
It was breaking up.
I thought you were breaking up a little bit.
I could hear everyone okay.
Okay.
I can hear myself just fine.
All right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my internet that I'm not sure, but I think we got through the meeting. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay,
No.
If no questions, I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
This is
Like a-
Stephanie. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you for everybody being here tonight on kind of different circumstances. And like